Calculating how many carbs you need to eat in a day is easy. So easy, in fact, you can figure out how many you need by the end of this video. And for all you gym goers out there, I have a special tip just for you at the end of the video that you need to hear. You might be asking yourself, how many carbs should I eat in any given day? Well, that's a very easy question once you have the right information. You should be consuming anywhere from 45% to 65% of your total calories should be made up of carbs. So if you don't live a very active lifestyle, you'll be closer to 45%. If you live a very active lifestyle, you'll be upwards of 65%. Now, what does that translate into actual numbers? So let's just say I eat 2,000 calories, right? And I'm going to go right in the middle and say I want to eat 55% of my calories is going to be carbs. So what that breaks down to is of my 2,000 calories at 55%, 1,100 calories of my total 2,000 will be made up of carbs. Now, what does that look like in grams? On nutrition labels, if you read them, it's all broken down into grams. So 1,100 calories broken down into grams is 275 grams. And the reason why, or how I figured that out is when it comes to carb and protein, 4 calories equals 1 gram of carb. So if you take that 1,100 calories, divide it by 4, you get 275 grams. So you need to be eating 275 grams of carbs each and every day if you're going for that 55%. The reason why I like percentages and I like giving it to people in percentages is the percentages will scale with how many calories you're eating. Whether you're eating 3,000 calories or 2,000 calories or even as low as 1,200 calories, that 55% will scale with those. And you don't have to find out any other measurements or any other ways to figure out how many carbs you need, because that 55% will be the same throughout how many calories you're eating. Now, of course, the actual number, but it'll still be 55%. Now, that 55% is just to give you an example of how to figure out how much you need. Like I said, if you don't live a very active lifestyle, you can go as low as 45% or 50% or stay at 55%. Just find out what works best for you, what works best for your life, what works best for how many times a day you eat, or if you want to eat more times a day or less times a day, you can still take how much you need, break it up into however many meals you're going to eat, and then say, okay, I don't know, let's just say each meal is 55 grams of carbs. So let's say I eat 4 meals a day, 55 grams of carbs per meal. As you get to figuring up your food, you'll find out that 275 isn't a whole lot. And the thing you need to keep in mind is don't just make it of like starchy carbs like rice, potatoes, breads, pasta, stuff like that. Also get fibrous carbs in there as well, which are in vegetables and like dark leafy green vegetables. Get vegetables, get starchy carbs, get both of them in there. Get your fibers and starchy carbs, get both of them in your diet, and you'll find out that you fill up that 275 pretty quickly. And the more fibrous carbs you get in your diet, the more it'll fill you up, the more it'll keep you full for longer periods of time. You should have some fibers and some starchy carbs in there, but make sure whenever you're making your plate, starchy carbs, your rice, your potatoes, your pasta, is a smaller portion on your plate. Now that you've figured out how many carbs you need and have at least a rough idea of how many grams per day you need, you might be asking yourself, okay, why is carb percentage so high, or why does it seem to be so high? Well, the thing you need to understand about your body is an energy-first system, meaning as you go throughout your day, whether that's just going through work or exercising or some type of activity, your body is burning fuel. Now, your body has a few different fuel reserves in it. It's got like a reserve for just normal everyday activity, but your body also has another pool of energy, and that's more of like your high performance energy. It's called ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, and that's your high performance energy. And if I was to walk from point A to point B, that would be that would be one pool of energy. But if I were to sprint from point A to point B, that would be that high performance pool. And whenever you deplete either pool of energy, your body's first concern is replenishing those pools of energy. So whenever you've burned energy and then you eat to consume, your body is going to fill up those pools of energy first. Before it heals itself, before it repairs damaged muscles or tissues, before it even builds up and strengthens, it's going to make sure it does what it can to fill those pools of energy first. So if you're eating and your number one concern is I want to build muscle, I want to build the tissue here or there, or whatever it might be, your body's first concern is to refill those pools of energy first. Carb is fuel. So if you're taking care of that fuel first, because your body's going to take care of that fuel first. If your food reflects that, it's going to fill those pools of energy, and then whatever you have left in your diet, it's then going to use to build muscle. It's then going to use to build the tissues it needs to. It's then going to use the protein, the building blocks of protein to build the various things in your body that it needs to. Now, at the beginning of the video, I talked about a tip specifically for gym goers, and here it is. If you're like me, you were taught protein is everything. Get protein, you need protein, consume every gram of protein you can possibly get your hands on. Now, it is important for you to consume protein, but it's not so important that that's the only thing you need to focus on. Again, like I said a minute ago, your body is an energy first system. Whenever you consume something, your body's first and major goal is to replenish those pools of energy that you depleted through your working out, through your activity, whatever it may be. So if you give it something, if you eat something, it's going to break it down, and if it needs to, it's going to convert it into glucose, and then it's going to use that as energy. Now, your body using carb as a fuel is like, saying, hey, I'm gonna build a bonfire, but instead of just going to go get some wood, I'm going to take the studs out of my wall, and that's what I'm going to use as my firewood for my bonfire. Well, the studs in your wall, those part of the building blocks of your house. You don't want to do that. That's what it's like using protein as a fuel source. So after your workouts, the tip is don't just focus on getting protein. Focus on getting carb as well. That way you can replenish your pools of energy and use the protein that you ingested as the building blocks to repair your body to actually what you're wanting to. Because just focusing on protein and not carb as well is being counterintuitive to what you're trying to do and the muscle you're trying to build in the gym.